This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Well, ladies and gentlemen. It's Throwback Thursday, and should we throw it back to when I went on the herd and said the Warriors would sweep the Cavs? Oh, sorry, guys. I just got injured patting myself on the back. Cowherd's out sick today, filling in for him, former NFL player Eric Davis. Here we go. Whitlock one-ups LeBron James in some philosophy to describe why the Cavs are down 0-3 in the finals. Eric Davis makes the case that if the Warriors pull this off and goes 16-0, they're the greatest team in NBA history. Get your popcorn ready. Former Super Bowl champ Seth Joyner, Philadelphia Eagles great, debates Whitlock on Colin Kaepernick. The smartest college football man in the biz, Joel Klatt, stops by to talk about the legacy of Bob Stoops. Former NBA champ Eddie House breaks down why Kevin Durant has been the best player in the NBA Finals so far. Plus, a little golf talk with Fox golf analyst Paul Azinger ahead of the U.S. Open next week. Ready for Speak for Yourself? Take it away, Whitlock.
All right, hello and welcome to a special 2-hour edition of Speak for Yourself. I am Jason Whitlock. Colin Cowherd is out sick. In his place is my man Eric Davis. We're joined today on the desk by Eddie House, an NBA champion, Phoenix Suns forward Jared Dudley. All right, guys, let's get to Game 3 of the Finals. The Warriors ended last night on an 11-0 run to steal Game 3 away from the Cavs. It seems like LeBron is going to get a lot of the rest he needs so badly. He looked and sounded gassed after the game last night, and today LeBron was asked if he had a message for the people who criticized his lack of aggressiveness down the stretch.
I don't know if you've been here for the last couple of years or heard me talk. I don't even really care. I had 101 drives last night. I didn't have 101, but you get the gist of it. Sorry, I didn't go for 102. So, but at the end of the day, I don't really get in. What is a critic? It doesn't matter. One of my favorite quotes when I really stopped caring about what people say is Theodore Roosevelt, "The man in the arena." So if you can read that, you'll see where I'm at right now in my life. It doesn't matter to me.
All right, listen, I don't have a problem with LeBron James going Theodore Roosevelt, 1910, April 23rd. It's a terrific quote. And a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches have used it and talked. The man in the arena, not the people, the critics on the outside or who matter, the people that actually pour their blood, sweat, and tears. But there's also a great philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, that has a different quote. If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one has ever truly been harmed. It is the person who continues in his self-deception and ignorance who is harmed. LeBron James and the Cavaliers are playing the wrong style. They're trying to play at the pace of the Golden State Warriors, and someone needs to tap on LeBron and tell him, man, slow it down. You can't play this pace.
That sounds great if you could slow down the Warriors, because if you want to play that pace, you got to figure out a way to score threes all the time, because you can go down, you can slow it down. You may get a few less shots, but they're still going to be able to score those threes. That's been the issue. I think they've been playing this team the only way you can possibly play this team. They're just outmanned. That's what I see what's going on.
Not last night. It wasn't.
Last night,
they got 80
last night
points
the other guys
there.
didn't help them.
How are they going to slow the game down, though? Like, what are they going to do? Who do they have to throw the ball to in the block except LeBron? And then they're going to double him, then they're going to move the ball. You can't slow it down. They're going to be in a gang of pick and rolls. That's the only offense that they really have. The one thing they could do is don't get enamored with the three-point shot like they did last night. They were playing like they were Golden State. They can shoot threes. They're a good three-point shooting team, but they got caught up in Golden State's quick shot game. And I think that's what hurt them at the end, because you had some quick shots. J.R. Smith, LeBron took a quick three, a couple quick threes. Kyrie took some quick threes. And I think that's when you have to use the shot clock a little bit to your favor, especially after you get a stop. and you get the rebound. You close. You get good defense finally against the Warriors.
Kyle Korver. You had no problem.
No, it was the right play, but the only problem I have at that point, I think he should have closed it out himself. But that's the right play, and that's just the makeup of LeBron James.
Now, go ahead.
No, the biggest thing to me is where's Tristan Thompson at? Because for one, the pace, he usually gets you 5 to 6 offensive rebounds, limits it less possessions for the Warriors, gets a couple people in foul trouble. He hasn't even scored a field goal. I think maybe 1 or 2 field goals. His like aggressiveness is not there, and they're missing that with him. And like you said, my man said, David said, they're outmanned. They don't have enough firepower, and Thompson brings them that grit and that grind, which they're not having right now.
And as far as the pass to Kyle Korver, what other reason is he on the team? That's why he's on the team. He's one of the best shooters in the history of the league.
Space for LeBron.
But he made some shots earlier.
He made some shots earlier, so why wouldn't you in that situation try to put the nail in the coffin? That's what he was trying to do.
Because I got LeBron James one-on-one with Draymond Green, who has 5 fouls. I can go to the right. You had Kyrie over in that corner. The defender wasn't going to come off him. LeBron James intentionally, in my view, turned down a drive to the right, went into traffic to the left. Durant was there. He was looking to make the pass rather than looking to make the right play.
That was the right play. I still think that he could have scored on that play if he wanted to. He could have got a shot off, but the makeup of LeBron is to pass first. He's a pass-first guy. He's not thinking about scoring the basketball. KD's a straight killer, number one. KD is looking to score and looking to get money, where LeBron, he is a guy that's looking to facilitate more so than be so aggressive. And it was the right play, but I just think at the wrong time he made the right play. I think he could have been a little bit more selfish right there and just try to force him. I would have liked to see him force it right there.
This is one thing about LeBron we're waiting for. This is the last thing for him to evolve in, is in the last 2 or 3 minutes, that aggressive. Even though that guy is open, we want to see LeBron. It is the right play, and 99% of the time, first 3 quarters, you should make that pass. But I'm with you on this. And that last possession, even though it is Korver, he's one of the best shooters, because he had 5 fouls. Because if you go and Kevin Durant comes and helps and you finish it and you miss it, Kevin Love is there for the rebound against Steph Curry. So that's the only time in that possession, the last minute or two, we want to see LeBron evolve, and I'm with you on that.
And look, I think we're at a point now where we got to quit talking about Michael Jordan. And to me, after last night, and I love LeBron James, but now we're talking about Magic Johnson to me, because I think he's bringing Magic Johnson back into the equation. Is LeBron James having a better career than Magic Johnson? And just remember this about Magic. He was a facilitator. But by the time he was a grown-ass man in the NBA, what did he beat the Celtics with? His own sky hook. He wasn't looking to facilitate. He took on the responsibility. I'm the best player. I'm taking the Celtics out. I would have liked to see some of that.
Maybe LeBron's still growing up. You ever thought about
14 years in the league, man. All right, welcome back. Eric Davis is here. I've got Johnny Cochran, Eric Davis. I got him some support here. F. Lee Bailey is now joining him, former Pro Bowl linebacker Seth Joyner. They'll be on the Colin Kaepernick defense team. And Jason McIntyre, the big lead, rejoins the program. Let's talk NFL. Let's talk Colin Kaepernick, who still hasn't spoken publicly, even though his NFL career seems to be coming down in flames. Some people, like myself and Alex Marvez, in an article in the Sporting News, say Kaepernick needs to speak out and take control of the stories. Others disagree, like our man Seth Joyner here, who tweeted at me directly, he's doing the right thing. Nothing he says will change the perception, so it's best to be silent and allow the chips to fall where they may. Well, let me tell you something, Seth, F. Lee Bailey. You know where the chips aren't falling? In Colin Kaepernick's bank account. So by being silent, there's no chips falling in his bank account. There's all these negative narratives out there about him. He's got his buddy in the New York Daily News talking about, I'm boycotting the anti-black NFL that has 70% players. Colin Kaepernick needs to take control of this narrative, because all the idiots around him are taking control of the narrative, and they're making a mess so that there's no chips falling in Colin Kaepernick's pocket. So Johnny Cochran would lead counsel for the defense, or F. Lee Bailey's going first.
The problem is that you can't change this narrative. You're not going to change it. You can't change the perception, because anything that comes out of his mouth, the narrative has already been set. There's people out there that no matter what the circumstances are, they see him in a negative light. So there's nothing that he can say to change that. So the NFL has basically made its stance. They basically said, we're not going to give this guy a job. So what can he do? There's nothing he's going to say that's going to switch things up. It's just not going to, it doesn't work to his benefit. The only thing he can do is harm himself at this point in time.
Great point.
No guy has ever been able to negotiate.
That's a great point.
No guy has ever been able to negotiate through the press.
No.
In the NFL. No player has ever been able to do that. And that's what you're asking him to do. There's nothing to gain by it. I've said it before. He doesn't need to pacify my conscience or my concern or yours. The only questions he has to answer are to the teams that actually want him to play. If you are going to bring in Kaepernick and give him an opportunity to explain his stance, if you're going to try to offer him a job, those are the only people he needs to talk to. He has nothing to gain by talking to anyone else.
I'm going to let you go
Yeah,
before
so
I start
Seth,
crying.
you were in Philly. You remember Ricky Waters,
Yes.
great running back? I'm going to quote him here. For who? For what?
There you go.
Remember that?
Yes.
Like Eric just said, nothing is going to change the narrative with what Kaepernick says.
That's why you put your hat back on,
here's
huh?
my other issue with
3
it.
men and a baby.
Seriously. Think about it from this standpoint. Whatever questions he answers, right? We're going to say, well, that was a softball question. Or we're going to say, well, he didn't say the right thing. And then the Seattle Seahawks, they're not using any of that. Hey, did you hear what he said? We got to bring Kaepernick in, guys. Nobody's going to say that. So it doesn't do anything. I think the teams are the one, and I know you guys don't agree with this, the teams are the one that should be answering questions from the media. What did Kaepernick say to you, Seattle? What did he say? You signed Austin Davis?
No.
Come on. That's where I am.
Listen, let me tell all three of you guys. Let me school you on something.
Okay, let me
Look,
take notes.
First and foremost, John Mara, the owner of the Giants, came out and said what many people believe is the biggest problem. Man, I'm getting eaten alive in email and mail from my fan base saying, don't touch this guy. So if Colin Kaepernick were to come out and speak directly on this issue, perhaps he could tamp down some of the fan animosity directed towards it. It's a possibility.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. He already kneeled. The damage is done.
Listen, John Mara is the worst guy to comment on this. I am appalled that he even took the stance. Listen, you had a player on your team that you try to keep on your team all of last season that beat his wife, and you're concerned that Colin Kaepernick took a knee? Are you kidding me?
That's not what he said.
About that.
Huh?
That's not what he said.
Maybe he didn't get letters.
That's not what he said, though.
His whole deal is the fans.
I understand.
So you mean to tell me that there's a bigger outcry for what Colin Kaepernick did opposed to what his kicker did?
This is America. Perhaps it is. Again, he didn't say, John Mara, I personally have a problem with Colin Kaepernick. He's in a business of selling tickets and satisfying his fan base. If his fans are more outspoken about Colin Kaepernick than Josh Brown, that ain't on Mara. That's on the fan base.
Let me tell you about these fans, okay? If Eli Manning goes down in week 6 and Colin Kaepernick's on that team, and he takes that team to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, what are them fans gonna say then? All of that nonsense is out the window.
You understand what hypothetical?
Yeah, but I mean, hey, listen.
That's why, Whitlock, if you show up tomorrow at 150 pounds, blah, 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 it ain't going to happen, Seth.
But how many quarterbacks, Eric, make the whole season? Okay, and you got all of these other quarterbacks that are getting jobs. You know, and you mean to tell me that Colin Kaepernick ain't better than Austin?
I want to make my second point.
Okay, make your point.
So all these owners and all these coaches, they're all got blinders on. They're all so stubborn. They never change their mind. There's nothing you could say to them. I don't buy that. I've known many of them. Okay, so let's say there's owners and coaches out there that don't like Kaepernick, that have their mind made up about him, but he speaks publicly, and someone says, oh, man, I get where he's coming from, or I like that, or he's pivoted and he's changed. He's someone I can trust. He could potentially open someone's mind to get him back in business.
Isn't that the same hypothetical you just threw at us a minute ago?
Now, that really is. That really is.
Oh, yeah.
But you know when you have that conversation, like when Seattle called him in, you have that conversation. John Mara said, my fan base, and you said, I'm taking the pounding from my fan base. I don't want him on my team. Okay, fine. There's no reason for him to make a statement to that. If you want the guy, if you think he has the ability to help you, and if your quarterback goes down and you're looking, it's a limited number of guys, you're going to call him in and you're going to say, what is it you want to do? What are you about? He doesn't need to do that until he's asked that question. He has nothing to gain by it.
If I thought there were a bunch of false narratives out there about me, like, hey, man, you won $8 million a year. Hey, you want to be a starter. I would go out and address that and make sure as best I could that people were actually talking factually about me.
But that happens about players all the time. Things are said. I know this is a different scenario, but there are players out there right now, and we're having conversations because someone reported that this guy wants money, this guy doesn't want this guy wants to be traded. That always happens. This is just another situation.
If I'm in Colin Kaepernick's position, the only people I care about is the teams that's interested in me and their perception, okay?
I'm sorry. Since Jordan came over here, it changed my mind.
It's their perception. It's the team's perception because they're the only one that can change the narrative by signing him. Other than that, the reporters, us talking about it means absolutely nothing.
Look, they're on Kaepernick's payroll. That's Johnny Cochran.
No.
Hey, how do you feel when websites out there write about you and me? Right? How do you feel? You just got to tune it out, man. Just move on. Who cares what they say? You only got to answer to Fox, right? They're your employer.
I address my critics all the time. I don't run from anybody, and neither should Colin Kaepernick. The guy, listen, if he's this great guy that everybody says he needs to go out and show it and prove it.
He is doing that.
And you're assuming that he's running because he's not speaking about these things. But
he's
understands.
Tweeting out other people's criticism.
The man
That's
has been
what
in this business.
Me.
That does bother me too. Okay, I'm back on his side.
But he's been in the business long enough to understand that by sending out a tweet, holding a press conference, doing all those things, it's not going to change.
Don't talk to me like he understands.
Okay,
let me give you 2 points.
Let me give you 2 points. When he undertook this, he put it out there that I know what I'm getting myself into.
He did what?
He put it out there. He said, I know what I'm getting myself into. I know what the ramifications of me doing this, what this could mean to my career. That was major because most people would never put themselves in the position that he's put himself in. The other piece is he's out there. He's out there.
That stupid,
well, but that's okay. But that's okay. But in the media, what do? Where are today's Muhammad Ali's? Where are today's Arthur Ashe's? Where are today's Jim Brown's? Okay. Okay,
Jim Brown wouldn't have done this. He's on the record about that. Jim Brown wouldn't have done this. I'm friends with Jim Brown. He wouldn't have been on his knees.
But we can't ask for guys to be. We can't ask for guys to be in these positions to be agents for social change, and then when they step forward to be agents for social change, then we want to crucify them. And you can't have it both ways.
All right, welcome back to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock. Sitting in for Colin Cowherd is Eric Davis. Joining us here at the desk is NBA champion Eddie House, Phoenix Suns forward Jared Dudley. Let's return to the finals. It's time for Who's the Best, presented by America's Best Contacts and Eyeglasses. The Warriors are on the brink of making even more history. They already have the longest playoff winning streak, 15 games and counting. If they win Friday, they'll complete the perfect 16-0 postseason. Steph and LeBron spoke about this historic opportunity.
We always say we just want 16 wins. It doesn't matter how we get there. But now that we're in this situation, why not take care of business and finish the job?
I think it's just part of my calling to just go against teams that's in the midst of a dynasty. And, you know, this has been the best team in our league the last 3 years. You know, and they won a championship. And last year, it was the greatest regular season team we had played. It was probably one of the best postseason teams that everybody has ever seen as well. We were just able to overcome that, and they're playing like one of the best teams once again.
All right, I'm not really ready to go there, calling this the greatest team of all time. You know, the accomplishments, the 73 regular season wins a year ago, now a chance to go 16-0. I get it. I won't be offended by anybody that makes that argument, but having lived through Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Michael Cooper, that Pat Riley coaching that team, Larry Bird's 86 Celtics, tremendous. Michael Jordan's with Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen and that team, and Phil Jackson as a coach. I'm not ready to go there with the Warriors, but I'm not offended by if somebody wants to make the case.
You know, greatness and greatest is subjective, okay? But if you go 16-0, something that's never been done, I think that solidifies their place in that conversation where you have to, whenever you start talking about the greatest teams ever, you got to talk about it. And I think that would be, I personally think that would be, seeing that it's never been done, the greatest team sports accomplishment to date. I've seen in football you got the 17 and
in
football you got the 17-0 Dolphins, okay? But I've seen someone eclipse that. The Patriots went 18-0, so I know that can be done. Again, it's been done. No one's ever gone 16-0, and you got a team. To me, a football analogy, this is the equivalent, the way they play, of the '85 Bears and the Greatest Show on Turf, the way they entertain. And if they take that combination and take it to 16-0, that right there puts them squarely in the conversation of the greatest.
Yeah, they have to be in the conversation. They go 16-0 again. Something that nobody has ever done in the NBA. And it's hard enough just to sweep somebody once in a playoff run, in a championship run. The year we won, well, we didn't sweep anybody. You know, we had 7 games back-to-back, first round, second round, 7-game series, 6 games the next 2. So it's hard to do
Doc
it.
Rivers was coaching your team.
It doesn't matter. We had 3 Hall of Famers on our team as well, and a hell of a cast of role players on that team too. It's very hard to do that, and it doesn't matter whoever they play. They taking care of business like that. I don't think you could crown them the greatest team, but it'll be in the conversation as one of the greatest teams.
Yeah, it definitely been a conversation. I agree with that. It's hard for me playing against them to say they would be the greatest. You know, obviously being, a competitor myself, but it's impressive. 16-0. I know they've had a little, with Kawhi being hurt, they should have lost that one game. Don't say it, though.
But they did.
But they did. And you're right, you can only play what you have. But I just think at that time, right now, we knew beforehand, before this year even started, it was only 2 top teams. They only had to win one to really win a championship. But you're right, it's impressive. I would say over with the Bulls, 96, then winning those 72 games, going on winning that championship the way Jordan did.
They lost 3 or 4, right?
You're right, they lost 3 or 4. I mean, but they won more regular season games. So what year is it more accomplishment? Team?
It's never been done. Yeah. How can you say that something that has never been done is not something difficult to do?
But at that time, they were 72. That had never been done.
And that's
but that's what I'm saying. I said to date, this would take the mantle.
Yeah. You can't sleep on. I think did the Lakers win 15-1? I think that's the only team that got close to it, but it's still not 16-0. You know, and before you just mentioned the Lakers team, and they went 15-1, and that's one of the greatest teams. This team will go 16-0, man. You have to say, yeah, it's an argument, and again,
they caught some breaks.
It's your personal preference on who you like.
Yes. They caught some breaks.
Every year, there's a team that catches breaks. That's a part of sports.
Utah
Injuries are a part of
and
sports.
Portland in the first 2. Cry me a river. Or, who cares? Kawhi Leonard got his ankle broken or whatever by Zaza's cheating play.
That's a part of sports.
Pop analogized it to manslaughter. I won't go that far, but it was assault. I'll go that far. And so...
I mean, even your Magic teams that you talk about, you can say if Isaiah hadn't hurt his ankle, the Lakers may not have won one of those. So you can always throw an injury in there and say this happened because of that. But it's a part of sports. All they can do is beat the guys that are on the court, and they've been doing it.
Warriors will get full credit. They sweep Cleveland. As good as LeBron is in his prime or tailing off, Kyrie, if they did that, they're going to get all the credit they deserve.
Actually, LeBron got better this year.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And that's crazy. In the 14th year, to be the best, that's the only time you've ever seen that, is somebody in their 14th year be the best player in their sport and actually get better. So you have to give them credit for being able to beat a team like that that's led by a player like that.
All right, I'm joined by Eric Davis. He's sitting in for Colin Cowherd. Now joining us at the desk, Fox college football analyst Joel Klatt and the founder of The Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's talk some college football. Let's talk some Bob Stoops, to a story that took a lot of us by surprise yesterday. Bob Stoops stepped down as head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. After 18 seasons, he was the longest tenured coach in college football. But since Stoops is only 56 years old, his decision did seem premature.
Yes, stepping down after 18 years as the head football coach here at Oklahoma, and feel like I've been absolutely the luckiest, most fortunate guy in the world, been incredibly blessed to have experienced what we have over the last 18 and a half years. I didn't want to miss the right opportunity to be able to step away and hand this baton off to Lincoln Riley and to help keep this all just going in a great direction. When you look at all the positives just coming off of the last couple of years, just moved into a state-of-the-art building, the coaches all being in place that have proven themselves to be excellent coaches, recruiting class, excellent team coming back. It was the right opportunity to be able to have a seamless transition, and that was important to me.
All right, Stoops does have a national championship under his belt, but his bowl career hasn't been too stellar. 9-9 in bowl games, 5 losses by 20 or more, and he's also not leaving on the best note. The Sooners are 3-7 in their last 10 games against top 5 opponents. Listen, is Bob Stoops going to be remembered the way Bud Wilkinson was at Oklahoma? No. But to me, could I argue that he was better than Barry Switzer? I would. Barry Switzer was a successful coach, but there was a lot of controversy with Barry Switzer. Look, it's always fair to criticize anybody. Hell, I'm damn near perfect and people criticize me. So if people want to criticize Bob Stoops, I got no problem with it. They want to knock him. But to me, tremendous legacy, very successful, one of the top 5 college football coaches, I think, of the last 10, 20 years. He's got nothing to be ashamed of.
The thing for me, Eric, is that, and Jason, is that this is a needle in a haystack stat. And what you find is the people, the detractors, they want to find something to point at, to say, and back Brian Bosworth's opinion, which I think is the absolutely wrong opinion. So they find this 500 record in bowl games, but they don't state that 9-9 means 18 bowl games. He was there for 18 years. He went to 18 straight bowl games. That's an incredible feat in and of itself, whether you're winning those exhibition games or not. This is a guy whose record is nearly spotless when you're talking about accomplishment. Wins a national championship. He was 60-30 against top 25 teams. That winning percentage is better than any other Power 5 program during that tenure. This guy has done more for Oklahoma in the Big 12 than maybe anybody. And right now, I think that the big losers in this isn't necessarily Oklahoma because of the things he was talking about, leaving that program in a great position, but it's the Big 12. There's no longer a figurehead big head coach in the Big 12, and that's the problem with this whole thing.
But that's what I was going to jump on that as well, about the fact that even you saw how the Big 12 fell apart and how the level of play there has sort of just taken a major backpedal, except for Oklahoma. He has kept them relevant, and you can look at that. And you touched on the bowl games he's played in and how he's had that team at national championship level. Now, unfortunately, he's had to deal with Saban and Urban Meyer and now Harbaugh in Michigan. A lot of it is timing, but he has kept that team relevant, and I'm with you. I think the conference is going to hurt, and I think that I'm with you on that. I think he definitely had a successful career, and he should be remembered, and not just the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Besides the legacy, guys, I can't stop laughing at people. Oh, the arrests and the Joe Mixon incident, and all, those were bad. What coach doesn't have those? Do you guys remember at Florida, Urban Meyer, how many of his players were getting arrested? I think he had 30 to 40 players in like a 7-year span arrested. Off the field issues, none of it impacts him. Urban Meyer's a great coach. Bob Stoops is a great coach. He's come up empty, as we know, right, in a couple big spots lately. But I believe in the last 10 years, he's had 6 top 10 finishes. I mean, come on, a lot of programs would kill for that.
I mean, 11 top 10 finishes over the course of his career. I mean, that's why the statistics can go on and on and on. The timing of this was strange, the June timing, but he's in his mid-50s. He's 56 years old, like you said, Jason. And I would just point to this. Everyone's questioning this and saying something's coming out, something's coming out. It could just be that this man's family history is impacting the way that he's living his life currently. His father, Ron, died of a heart attack on a football field in October of 1988 when he was 54 years old. Bob Stoops has always said that mid-50s was his point where he was going to try to step away from the game. And this is not a knock against Bob, because I think he's one of the most, well, I revere him as one of the best head coaches in our sport. But he's never been a guy that was purely about football, okay? He's always had a life outside of football, and I say that in the best sense of the term. And because of that, he wants to go live his life. He's financially completely independent after those contracts that he had for the Oklahoma Sooners. And this is a great time for Oklahoma to transition, because the recruiting classes, the facilities, and the continuity of staff is going to allow this to be a peaceful transition of power to Lincoln Riley, rather than something tumultuous like we saw down in Austin, Texas when Mack Brown left.
We got to be quick here, but you transitioned to something I want to get into, and maybe, hell, we got it booked later in the show and I'm not aware, but a 33-year-old successor, Lincoln Riley, that's the one thing, and I'm happy for Bob Stoops, I'm glad he's gone. That doesn't sit well with me. A 33-year-old successor, has he earned this? I have a bit of a problem with Lincoln, and again, if he were getting it on an interim basis because the guy retired in June, I would get it. But hell, they've caped up, and he's the guy at 33 years old for one of the most historic programs in college football. I don't get it.
I would just say this. Bob Stoops was in his 30s when he got this job at Oklahoma, and the two gentlemen that hired Bob Stoops from Florida, David Bourne, the president, and Joe Castiglione, the athletic director, are still in those seats. And I would trust them to say, we've been around Lincoln Riley for 2 seasons, and he's the guy that can lead our program forward. Remember, no one else is saying that. I understand the sentiment, but everyone's been around him for 2 years. It's not like he's coming from East Valley, Mississippi, and taking over Oklahoma. He's been the offensive coordinator for 2 years. Mid-30s is like the new 50.
He's 33.
Which is a good
I'm
thing.
35.
That's like the new 18.
No, that's a good thing. He can relate to the players on that roster a whole lot better.
And they better keep him because he's got offers out the wazoo, right, Joel? I mean, Cincinnati came after him, a bunch of big programs won.
Everyone's going to come after him, and they better hope that he's as loyal to Oklahoma as Bob Stoops was, because Stoops could have gone to the NFL, he could have gone to Florida.
Ball State. All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. He is Eric Davis sitting in for Colin Cowherd. Joining us now is the lead Fox golf analyst, Paul Azinger, and our very own Joel Klatt, who will also be at Erin Hills to cover the U.S. Open. All right, let's move now. We're a week away from the start of the 117th U.S. Open, which will be broadcast on Fox and right here on FS1. Last year's champion, world #1 Dustin Johnson, is the betting favorite, but only one golfer has successfully defended his title in the last 65 years, Curtis Strange in 1988 and 1989. I'm rooting for Dustin Johnson because I always root for the great storyline, and Dustin Johnson, to me, is as talented a golfer as we've had since Tiger Woods. He would be the best story for golf. Tiger made me fall in love with golf, so I'm rooting for Dustin Johnson. How about you?
I love the guy. I mean, I'm rooting for him, too. You can't help but root for Dustin Johnson. He's really got his life in a good spot. And he's had a monster year since he won the U.S. Open. I mean, he's won 5 times since he won the U.S. Open, 9 top 3 finishes. He's #1 on tour in driving distance. He's #1 on tour in greens and regulation. And he's in the top 10 in 50 to 125-yard range. So Dustin gets more wedges than most players because he hits it so far. And it's a great course for him. It's a perfect setup for Dustin Johnson. It requires power, and it requires you to be able to flight the ball high with your second shot, and he can do it all.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him because I'm just a casual golf fan, and I think for a casual golf fan, a guy, Dustin Johnson, is one of those guys where that makes me feel like, okay, I could do that. Because the reason I'm saying that is because
6'5" and a great athlete like Dustin Johnson.
Well, I'm a great athlete. I'm just not 6'5". I'm just not 6'5", but I'm a great athlete. But he makes me feel that way because he's just like a guy. I mean, you know, and he's a train wreck guy. You know, he's the guy. You see, there we go. So that's what I'm saying. This is a guy that you know at any moment could get himself in trouble, could be in the front yard fighting with Gretzky. It could happen. And it's out there, and you know that about him. Right. So I like that. I like that aspect of the guy, and I also would like to. I would like to have a guy that I could say is this guy versus the field, the way it used to be. That's why I'd like to see him win it again.
Golf is such an amazing watch because it's every single weekend, and the storylines don't necessarily change from weekend to weekend, whether it's a major championship or a regular tournament on the PGA Tour. And for those reasons, I think that if I were to rank, you know, what are golf fans rooting for? I don't know if it's necessarily individuals as much as it is storylines. Golf fans love storylines. The #1 storyline that golf fans in this country in particular would gravitate towards is if somehow Phil Mickelson made it to the U.S. Open, teed it off, and was in it late. That's what golf fans want to see is Phil Mickelson late in this tournament, which would close out a career Grand Slam. And then if you rank them down from that, I think that the next storyline that golf fans would love is to see some combination of those 4 young, great players, Jason Day, Justin Johnson, Royal McIlroy, and Jordan Spieth, in the mix and battling it out against one another. And in particular, Zinger, I think McIlroy-Spieth. That's what golf fans, it's not really a said storyline a lot. I think golf fans are dying for those two to be enemies, very similar to what Mickelson and Woods were circa 04, 05, 06.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, we live in a whole nother world now.
I know.
Social
They're all
media
rich
world.
now. They're
all rich, and they all, you know, kiss each other's tail on social media and congratulate each other and all that. And those rivalries, that's all gone.
This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. We're actually dark tomorrow. I know where I'll be tomorrow night watching my Warriors sweep the Cavs. And then, of course, you can hear my Fox Sports Radio weekend show Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Also, this podcast, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, we're all over the place, folks. Quick note, come on, why are we bashing LeBron for making the right play at the end of the game? Kyle Korver, one of the best three-point shooters in NBA history, got an open look. It was a clean look. He missed a shot. You can't kill LeBron for this. He made the right play. He too tired to get to the rim. Kevin Durant was waiting for him anyway. Korver missed a shot. Then KD came down. Bang! Series over. See you Monday.